One more spring game I want to jump into before we get to some of y'all's thoughts about these spring games. Notre Dame Fighting Irish. Another situation where a coach is headed into his second year on the job, never been a head coach before, much like Brent Venables. They won 9 football games last year. And remember, everybody and their mama was selling Marcus Freeman stock, was selling Notre Dame stock after that loss to Marshall. I'll go on record and just call your attention back to the fact that, hey, we said they got a lot of personnel still. They got a lot of guys that can compete and do good things. I believe in Marcus Freeman. It's not about us. It's about Notre Dame. They're in a very exciting position because they brought in Sam Hartman. Sam Hartman doesn't need too much of an introduction. ACC's all-time touchdown pass leader. Played a lot of football. I believe he'll end up being a high draft pick this time next year. He's a guy that's going to just up Notre Dame's stock tremendously because you've heard me talk about them a lot, but the thesis for me is they won 9 games primarily with a backup quarterback. I'm not here to dunk on Drew Pine. I hope Drew Pine wins the starting job at Arizona State. But Drew Pine and Notre Dame winning 9 football games was something that none of us really saw coming. So how much better can they be upgrading at the most important position on the field? I'm excited to see that. My prediction for this game, though, is that we see Sam Hartman just prove that he is the guy. And you're saying, JD, I thought he already was the guy. Like, he came to Notre Dame for a reason. He didn't come there just to take a few classes and get some fresh Under Armour gear. Well, one, the classes are great, and probably going to get a nice little degree out of this, should he finish with a graduate degree. So that's one. 2, Under Armour's phenomenal. They don't sponsor us, but I think they do some really good stuff with Notre Dame gear. Anyway, my point is, you're absolutely right. He came here to play. But Tyler Buckner saw Sam Hartman jump in the portal, saw him join Notre Dame, didn't flinch. He was quarterback 1 going into last year, started that game against Ohio State, presents a different element to the offense with his legs. Like, I have tremendous respect for Tyler Buckner for saying, nope, I'm staying here. I'm fighting for this job. I'm seeing this through. I love that. That's a program guy if I ever saw one. But the prediction, I believe, for this game, again, is Sam Hartman leaves no doubt. He leaves no doubt that he is your starting quarterback. I think he looks in command. I think he slings it around. I think we're going to see a lot of passing already because it's a spring football game. You're not running ISO power 13 times on a drive because you're trying to save everybody's body a little bit and get out of spring healthy. Like, that's priority number 1. So you're going to see a pretty high volume of pass attempts, I believe, from Sam Hartman. And I think this is just the stage for him to prove to everyone internally, to prove to the fans, to prove to everybody watching on television, hey, I'm your starting quarterback. Mic drop, period, the end. So you get to watch him sling it. That's the first part. The thing that I'm curious to watch, how do these guys respond to Sam Hartman? Because I say it a lot with transfer portal quarterbacks. You got to win the job. Yes, you got to do that on the field. You also got to win the locker room. And Sam Hartman, I believe his advantage was he was there for winter conditioning. Like, probably a different story if he transfers in after the spring. But he was there. You know, he was in the foxhole with them, doing what I would imagine were mat drills and just other horrific drills they make you do during winter conditioning. Like, he suffered with those guys. So I think that probably got him some sort of respect within the locker room. But then if he can take that and parlay that into a successful spring game, a successful spring overall, and prove, like, I give us the best chance to win, I'm the guy, that would be what you want to leave from with this game. I believe you will leave with that from this game. But I'm curious, how do these guys respond to him when things go well? Sam Hartman throws a touchdown pass. Are his teammates mobbing him? Is there high energy? Are they excited? It's a lot of daps and handshakes and life is good. And when things go bad, does he stay even keel? Does the team respond to his demeanor? Like, hey, we had a fumble on that drive. I'm talking about a spring game, so take this as you will. We had a negative play. We had a turnover. We had someone jump off sides. Is it, I'm all out of whack and the team responds the same way? I'm frustrated. Guys are frustrated. Guys are chirping internally. Or is it, hey, we're good, steady hand, let's go, run it back, reload? It's just a spring game, so you don't get as great a feel for this as you would in a real game. But I think it matters. I think it matters how these guys respond to him. But again, I believe Sam Hartman's going to sling it, and I believe he's going to prove he is your quarterback in South Bend. For everyone watching, make sure you subscribe. Go ahead and like the video for us, just purely off of the fact that it helps us. So if you don't mind locking in, that would be phenomenal. Got some more thoughts, but make sure you subscribe to the channel. Make sure you're following me on Twitter and on Instagram at JD Piquel. Okay, now what is the number one question mark that people have had for Notre Dame this offseason? The majority of the crowd, I believe, outside of pass rusher, which we'll get to in a second, a lot of people are asking, hey, who's stepping up at wide receiver here? Do we got to go dip our toe in the portal post-spring and find somebody? Are we relying on a freshman to make some plays? Because who's the dynamic playmaker on the outside for us? I don't know that I see it on the roster right now, is what a lot of people are saying. I would say in this spring football game, I actually believe you're going to see 1 to 2 guys really separate themselves. Now, who that is, I don't know. But by nature of having Sam Hartman on the roster, there's going to be catchable footballs. Like, it sounds funny to say, but if you are able to get a step or 2 steps on your defender, 2 steps would be ideal, you're going to have the ball in the right place. So we're really going to get to see these guys maximize their skill set. Some guys that I'm watching closely, talked about freshman Jaden Grayhouse. I'm very curious to see what he looks like. I believe he was a 4-star guy out of high school, played high level of football in the state of Texas. He's had some flash plays, it sounds like, during spring ball. I'm excited to see what he looks like when the lights come on. I think he's a name to watch. Now listen, Chris Tyree, according to some defenders at Notre Dame, he has been the hardest wide receiver to cover at practice. You can watch all the tape you want. You can coach it up as much as you want, but someone who actually is on the defensive side of the ball having to be assigned to cover a certain player, they're going to shoot you straight. And for defenders at Notre Dame to say, yeah, Chris Tyree, hardest guy to cover, that's a very good sign. That is a very good sign for Notre Dame. I believe he's a former running back as well, is Chris Tyree. So if he can get loose a little bit in the spring game, you'd love to see some proof of concept. You'd love to see some proof of the buzz that's been going on around Notre Dame. He's a guy that could make a very big impact. I think he could be one of those guys that separates. Deion Colzie, I keep going back to this. I think they are expecting him to take that next step. The sneak peek we got of him from like the hype videos that circulate around practice, he had one catch that was just clipped from social media, so we didn't get to see the whole play, but he made one play where he is just straight up mossing this one defensive back in the indoor. I believe the ball was from Sam Hartman. He goes up, high points it, and the football is like on or behind the defender's helmet. Strong hands, rip it away. Little boy, get away from me. That's the kind of edge I want my wide receiver to play with. So Deion Colzie could also be a guy that separates. I think those 3 names specifically are some guys to watch. But the reason why you'd be overjoyed if you saw this in the spring game, the same way I talked about Sam Hartman maximizing their skill set, Notre Dame brought in Sam Hartman for a reason, because they want to have a vertical passing attack. And having the quarterback to do it is one part, but if you have guys that can't get open, you don't have someone who can separate on the outside, you don't have somebody that can be that alpha dog wide receiver for you, you don't necessarily get to maximize Sam Hartman's skill set now, do you? That would be frustrating for all parties involved, because you only get Sam Hartman for 1 year. He's not coming back next year. Been playing college football for like 19 years. He's got to go to the league. This is his 1 season. To not be able to maximize his skill set because you don't have the right guys at wide receiver would just be a gut punch to everybody in South Bend. Your heart would just sink. Good news, I think somebody separates in the spring game. Like I said, Greathouse, Tyree, Colzie, all guys that I'm watching very, very closely, and I think are good candidates to break out. Now, another prediction I have for this spring football game, just a prediction extravaganza right now. Jordan Botelho is a guy that I've talked about a little bit on this show already. 6'3", 255, coming from Hawaii. I think he's next up in terms of being one of those pass rushers at Notre Dame. Isaiah Foskey gone to the league. Jordan Botelho had the 2nd most sacks on the team last year with 4.5. He's explosive. Isaiah Foskey spoke very highly of him. And I think whether he's at the linebacker spot or coming off the edge, I think we see him, what's the right word? He's not going to sack the quarterback, obviously, in this game, because you're not hitting the quarterback as you would in most spring games, but I think we see the quick twitch. I think we see him win a lot on the edge and win those reps, whether they equate to touch sacks or not. I don't really care. I just think we get to see, okay, that probably is going to be our guy. Like, does it totally solve the issue completely? Maybe we want to see some other guys step up, but Jordan Botelho, if nothing else, he's going to be our bell cow. And we see flashes of that in the spring game. So that's exciting, and I think we're going to be able to have something on tape, because your tape is your resume, right? I think Jordan Botelho adds to his resume this spring football game. Because here's the outlook for Notre Dame. And this is why I think they're so fascinating, like I said on the top of the show. They're not waiting. Like, they're going into year 2 under Marcus Freeman. It's easy to make excuses and say, oh, he's never been a head coach before. Last year was his first year. They're not waiting around for this thing to kind of take shape. Want to know how I know that? They went and got Sam Hartman through the portal. They made a big boy move in the portal and got themselves the best quarterback in the portal. So what that tells me, and I've said this before on different platforms, but they are inviting the pressure that comes with having a guy like Sam Hartman, that comes with having the golden helmet, being a golden domer, as we say. They're raising the bar internally because of who they got through the portal. They didn't have to go out and get Sam Hartman. They had their starting quarterback from a year ago. They won 9 games. Conventional wisdom would say we won 9 games with our backup. Imagine what we could do if we think we had the best guy for the job playing. They said, nope, we need to get better. 9 games is not the standard. 9 wins is not the standard, rather. Let's go compete for something big in year 2 under Marcus Freeman. So a lot of pressure, but pressure is privilege, and pressure creates diamonds. So Notre Dame, again, taking a temperature during the spring game, but a lot of things to be excited about. Those are my predictions as we get ready for that contest this coming Saturday.